Hey people, it's Naya Stokey. Now, this is I'd like to thank ProBlack Fort Free for telling me about this story. So this is from TheGuardian.com. Revealed the shocking levels of toxic lead in Chicago tap water. So this continues a trend of water-related stories I did, and I'm still doing. So here it goes. Tests performed for thousands of Chicago residents found lead, a neurotoxin, in amounts far exceeding the federal standards. 1 in 20 tap water tests performed for thousands of Chicago residents found lead, a neurotoxin, at or above the U.S. government limits, according to a Guardian analysis of a City of Chicago data trove, and 1/3 had more lead than is permitted in bottled water. This means that out of the 24,000 tests, approximately 1,000 homes had lead exceeding federal standards. Experts at locals say these results raise broader concerns because there are an estimate 400,000 lead pipes supplying water to homes in the city, and the vast majority were not tested as part of the program. Moreover, they say the city is not moving fast enough to eliminate the potential danger. Of course, with 1/3 black residents, they could care less about those residents in the south side and west side of Chicago. The Guardian worked with water engineer Ellen Betanzo, who helped uncover the Flint water crisis that resulted in many, mostly black residents being poisoned by lead in Michigan City, to review the results of water tests conducted for Chicago residents between 2016 and 2021. Chicago itself has never released an analysis of the results. The analysis found that 9 of the top 10 zip codes, the largest percentage of high test results, were neighborhoods with majorities of black and Hispanic residents, and there were dozens of homes with shockingly high lead levels. One home in the majority black neighborhood of South Chicago had lead levels of 1,100 parts per billion, ppb, 73 times the Environmental Protection Agency EPA limit of 15 ppb parts per billion. There's a very clear data set here showing very concerning lead levels in Chicago, and the residents need to have this information, said Betanzo, the founder of a water engineering firm. Lead is a potent, irreversible neurotoxin with no safe level of exposure and multi-generational impacts. The time to cut it off is as soon as possible. Foot dragging is helping nobody. This data shows lead well above the action level consistently at addresses across the city and again and again and again, and it's been sitting here publicly available for years, said Betanzo. It's amazing, it's shocking, she had. Numerous studies have shown that even at low levels, lead can leave an indelible impact on young children and adults. Once in the blood, lead can cross the blood-brain barrier and affect the nervous system. It has been linked to lower IQ levels, behavioral disorders, and worsening performance in reading and math. In adults, the low levels of lead are associated with kidney problems and increasing blood pressure, which can lead to a host of cardiac effects. Chicago has estimated 80% of homes with water connections made of the potent toxin, more than any other city in the nation. Yet efforts to get the lead out of the ground and out of people's drinking water seem to be stalled in bureaucratic gridlock. In May 2021, Chicago's Mayor Lori Lightfoot condemned previous mayors for kicking the can down the road and failing to deal with the urgent need for pipe replacements. Yet, as of this month, only 180 of the city's almost 500,000 lead lines have been replaced. The situation in Chicago is emblematic of an immense national issue. Although the Flint crisis rang alarm bells across the country, estimates say that there are some 10 million lead pipes still serving U.S. homes, meaning these homes could potentially have unsafe tap water. There are different standards and opinions how much lead is tolerable in water and therefore how provocative these Chicago findings are. Health agencies say no amount of lead is safe and that even those low amounts can cause problems. But the EPA has an action level of 15 ppb, meaning that cities are only required to notify the public when at least 10% of a small sample of homes tested are above that amount. By this measure, Chicago is in compliance. But this method may miss wide-scale issues. Flint was also technically in compliance until more detailed testing revealed the extent of its problems. And the EPA itself issued a notice warning Chicago residents that a study found that its methods underestimate lead levels. Many experts say the standards should be stricter and that EPA has agreed it is time to review them. The Food and Drug Administration sets the standard for lead in bottled water at 5 ppb, a level that more than a third of Chicago's tests exceeded. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommended setting levels for school drinking fountains of no more than 1 ppb, related to the fact that children's brains are particularly susceptible to lead. By this measure, 71% of Chicago's tests reviewed by The Guardian would not pass. In a statement to The Guardian, a spokesman for the Chicago Department of Water Management said the city's tap water should not be held to the same standards as bottled water, and the city's testing method. And the head of the water management, oh my God, and said and that the city's testing method for lead involves deliberately letting the water stand for several hours in the pipes, and is therefore an overestimation. The city also encourages residents with lead lines to flush their water for 5 minutes every day before consuming it to reduce the chances that they'll consume any lead that is accumulated. Chicago takes its drinking water quality very seriously, said the spokesperson, Megan Vidis. This is a city that is more concerned about being a sanctuary city, letting illegal immigrants come in, than taking care of its own residents. I don't take anything they say seriously. We're concerned about water quality. Why are you sending in illegal immigrants when you can't take care of the people who are resident there? Anyway, let's keep going. The Department of Water Management, DWM, offers one of the largest free lead testing programs in the world and voluntarily shares the results online to keep residents informed. While the raw data of the Chicago test has been posted on the Chicago Department of Water Management's website for years, no analysis has been made available to the public. If the same results were extrapolated to all the homes served by the nearly 400,000 lead lines in Chicago, it's possible that more than 100,000 homes could have lead levels in their tap water above those allowed for bottled water. This is clearly a public health threat of the first order, said Eric Olson of the Natural Resources Defense Council of the water test results. That's a lot of people drinking lead-contaminated water. Chicago water test, that's just another chart. Several years ago, the city started to encourage people to take free samples of their own water and send them into the city for analysis. Those who tested were located all across the city and ranged from a former daycare worker in the northwest Chicago neighborhood of Belmont Cragen to an electrician on the southeast side. Since the results for the 24,000 test kits were identified by block numbers rather than full addresses, it's possible that some homes were tested more than once. But there are at least 15,000 distinct block numbers. The first of the free samples was to be taken after the water had been sitting stagnant in a pipe for at least 6 hours, the second after the tap had been running for 2 minutes, and the third after 5 minutes. The Guardian analysis used the highest of the samples for each test kit. A large proportion of the results as at or above 15 ppb came after the taps had been running for 2 minutes, and 2% of the samples returned such high results that the taps had been running for 5 minutes. While homes were with high lead test results, how much more is there? This just goes on and on. So I'm sure you've all got the general gist of this. So I'm going to leave this article in the description so everybody can read it. I'm also going to try and find information about basic water filters that you can make. So if you're in Chicago and you can't leave, so videos about how to set up a basic water filter. And there's also water distillers and bottled water for anybody else. Now, if you can leave, I would suggest leaving because considering what we've seen with these new Illinois purge laws and this, Chicago is looking like a less and less desirable place to live. Then again, maybe it's just a gentrification tactic. Once all the blacks have been driven out, then it will be gentrified, all the problems will be solved, and all the black residents will be gone. But regardless, it's your life, your family's life, so you need to think about what's best for you and them. Anyway, I'm going to leave this article in the description. Please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. And I mean share because a lot more people need to know about how bad the water is. Peace.